Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the investor meeting of Positron Energy Limited. All participants are currently on mute. The floor will be open for questions after the brief introduction. Representing Positron Energy Limited, we have with us today Mr. Sujit Sugatan, whole-time director and CFO, Mr. Rajiv Menon, managing director, and Mr. Manav Bahri, whole-time director and CEO. I now invite Mr. Sujit to provide a brief introduction of the company. Thank you and over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening to all of you, and a very warm welcome to all our esteemed investors for the first general business update that we have organized today. This is almost after more than 6 months post our IPO that we are entering into an interaction with our investors and trying to give a brief update about all the business aspects that are happening at Positron Energy. So we will go through a presentation which has been structured with all the numbers which were already shared with all our investors through our half yearly presentation that we had shared on the exchange. Along with those same numbers, because those were the numbers which were already prepared by our finance team and we had already declared it, we would be providing some basic business updates as well. With respect to Positron Energy specializes in management and technical advisory services for the entire oil and gas sector. And we are known as gas aggregators for the entire sector with respect to sourcing of gas and reselling the gas to the various industrial and city gas distribution entities across the country. Looking to the key highlights of Positron Energies during the last few months, basically, we have been kind of doing a business volume roughly around 4,000, 5,000 MMBTU while we were, going with the IPO. Now, the current scenario, when we closed the half year, we had reached around 8,000 MMBTU per day. And from there on, we are further building our aggregation business by adding more and more molecules through various different sources, both international as well as domestic. Looking into the order books, which happen through our technical services, we have already clocked the order book roughly around 57 crores. Looking to the financials with respect to the first half of FY25, we had increased our revenue by more than 40%. The EBITDA was looking good. The PAT was also on an increasing trend. And in the FY25 first half, we had clocked a revenue of 70 crores and the EBITDA of 6.8 crores with a PAT of 4.74 crores. Apart from the numbers, because this happens to be the first half figures, we will also look into certain updates that happen for the 9-month FY25. The key indicators, if we look into the 9 months post our IPO, it is interesting that we need to understand that our IPO happened in August. So we had raised up the funds. The funds were primarily for increasing our working capital, which would help us in terms of sourcing more and more gas molecules. So immediately after getting the funding through the IPO, we started our acquisition in terms of more and more volumes, and we aggregated a total of 15,000 to 16,000 MMBTU per day of sourcing contracts during that particular tenure. That helped us in looking at Q3. If you look into the Q3 numbers, the revenues had increased substantially. While in September we had closed at 69.78 crores, in December we had closed at 159.4 crores. That was primarily, again, we had increased our volume sales through gas aggregation, and that was one of the key milestones that the company has achieved during the past quarter. The endeavor by Positron continues in terms of identifying more and more gas source across the country and identifying and strengthening our gas sales portfolio by increasing our consumer base, industrial consumers, retail sales, bulk volumes, and that has been the focus area for the company. So the indicators, if we again monitor very closely, FY24, while we closed at 134 crores, in the first 9 months of FY25, we were able to clock 159 crores, which shows the substantial efforts that Positron Energy and its team has been putting in and based on which we were able to increase the revenue substantially. While in the first half we were at 70 crores, that the increment has happened in the first quarter, based on which we were able to achieve the incremental revenues. Next slide, please. During the last quarter, again, we have taken up several new orders. Few of the key contracts that Positron Energy has signed, one with GSPC, wherein we have taken up a tender, we won a tender for supply of gas from 1st December 24 to 31st March 25, which was for a total aggregated volume of 16.6 lakh MMBTU during this particular period. So that has substantially helped us in terms of placing the molecules into the market for which we had done the sourcing during the initial period of the Q3. Second, in order to further strengthen our focus in terms of aggregating molecules through LNG mode, that is from international markets, we have already created our base by signing a master agreement with HPCL LNG for getting their regasification services on priority. This is at the Chhara LNG terminal in Gujarat, which will help Positron to utilize the facility for sourcing the LNG molecules from overseas, regasifying it through the facility of HPLNG and putting it back into the market. So as all of us can understand, Positron Energy, while we started in the beginning, before the IPO, we were at an average rate of around 5,000 MMBTU. Slowly and steadily, we have been aggregating our gas molecules, increasing it currently up to 15,000, 20,000, and we are getting future ready. We are getting future ready by the means when we are having a direct cargo and handling higher volumes at that time, we should be in a position to have the facilities along with our partners, that is HPCL LNG, for regasification facility on priority basis for Positron Energy. So that was undertaken during this period. Into the technical services, again, the services business for us primarily focused for entire city gas distribution business segments across the country, where we have been looking for several projects for project management, operation and maintenance with respect to last mile connectivity and all kind of business consulting as well. Some of the key assignments that we have taken up during this particular period is with respect to last mile connectivity for the GAs of Ujjain and Gwalior, which happens to be for Avantika Gas Limited, which has been taken up during this particular tenure, which would be for 2.5 crores. With respect to our project management and construction supervision related services, also we have taken up a couple of assignments with Maharashtra Natural Gas Limited for the geographical areas of Ramnagara and Nasik, wherein the cumulative value is roughly around 1.7 crores. And project management consulting is at Nanded and Nizamabad GA, where we have taken up the services for additional 3 crores of new additional order value. Next slide. So looking into these parameters, the key growth engines for Positron has always been through in terms of the gas aggregation business. The platform which was provided to us with respect to the IPO coming into the play, the entire focus was in terms of hitting the ground, identifying the market, penetrating deeper into it, sourcing the maximum molecules and taking the maximum share out of the market. So that we have been able to successfully drive during this particular period. And the growth in terms of the volume aggregation is clearly an indicator based on which we have been deriving our business during the last few months. The proactive approach that we have adopted, there has been a lot of changes in the regulatory framework as well as in the international market, the way the LNG prices have been forecasted for the coming years as well as for the current period as well. That somewhere has impacted our initial plan for looking into the dual fuel retrofitment kit business, which we were undertaking with ICOM North America. As of now, we have kind of decided in terms of exiting that particular segment because the LNG prices have been looking northwards. As we all understand, India is deficit of gas. The demand is much more higher, whereas the current supplies are restricted, and we would be focusing on getting the LNG supplies LNG supplies from the international market is directly linked with international benchmarks, which provides a big bottleneck in terms of placing it against cheaper fuels in the country which is already available. So that is where somewhere we have, as of now, decided, considering the market dynamics, that we would be exiting out from this business in future. If suppose that works out, we will be again re-entering into that business and proactively we will be pursuing the same. So basically, the entire management view is, our entire focus was in terms of increasing the revenues for the company, that through the IPO proceeds, and creating a successful business portfolio both for our technical services and the gas aggregation business during this particular period. Next slide. This already we have discussed. This is basically the segments that we have been working on: management consulting and technical consulting services on one hand, and gas aggregation business, where LNG distribution is one part of our offerings, where we are looking for industrial and commercial consumers, and the other part is the kind of under review that already I have mentioned with respect to the dual fuel LNG kit market, which has been as of now shelved with respect to the market dynamics. Next slide. Okay. This is some detailing about the businesses that we undertake, just for the understanding of all our investors. That is basically technical consulting service, starting from the regulatory advisory for any city gas distribution location, along with the technical feasibility study, commercial, financial, comprehensive assessment of the entire market is been undertaken by Positron. And during the implementation, project management, O&M for CNG, small scale LNG, all come in our offering portfolio. Next slide, please. This already we have discussed. You can skip to the next slide. Yeah. So basically, the category-wise revenue breakup, if we look into, as previously we were focused on the two business segments, that is natural gas aggregation and management consulting. In H1 FY25, we did roughly around 70 crores of business. The major 90% of the volumes were coming from natural gas business, and the remaining was from the management consulting. Thereafter, during the last few months, that is closing of 31st of December, the kind of business efforts in terms of aggregating more molecules have increased substantially by our team, which has again increased the contribution, revenue contribution, more up to 95-96% is now coming from the aggregation business, and the remaining falls in place from the management consulting business. Next slide. So this is again the consolidated financial for the half year. In FY25, again, as already discussed, we were at 70 crores. Again, the EBITDA and PAT we have already discussed. Just a key highlight, we have been in a position to maintain the PAT at 6.8% during that period, and the EBITDA margin was at 9.47%. Next slide. This is again the P&L highlights. The profitability has been again maintained at 6% levels, and EBITDA at 9.75. Yeah. So these are the key investment rationals that we have always been talking about. The core team who brings in more than experience of 45 years. Myself, Rajiv, Manav, they are also accompanying me during this discussion. And this is our entire management team comprising of three of us. And the independent directors, there has been a change during this particular period. Mrs. Sheila Verma has joined as an independent director during this tenure. Due to some unavoidable circumstances, the previous Mr. Dev had to exit from our board. Okay, next slide. So creating the competitive strength, we are providing customized solutions for the gas distribution sector, providing all kind of solutions for the bottlenecks that the markets are facing in terms of market diversification, creating the presence, deeper penetration into the market and all. That has been our foray. We have been closely working in terms of getting the government reforms and the implication on our business and all, and we have been taking proactive steps in terms of containing the impact onto our company, and that has been reflected in terms of the recent price differential and the gas allocation related mechanism related changes have also been pivotal because we have been closely monitoring the market changing market scenario and accordingly creating the strategy for growth for Positron Energy. Next slide. The basic success mantra in terms of Positron Energy business strategy, in terms of how we are focused in terms of developing both our business segments. Positron continues to be providing the consulting services with the highest possible quality standards by providing all the in-depth understanding of the regulatory and the market challenges based on which the strategies are devised for the organization. And one of the key aspects that I would like to highlight is realignment of all the gas contracts and adding new gas contract portfolio into our system, which helps us to drive growth further for Positron Energy and increase the market reach all across the country. That emerging city gas distribution related developments and the pipeline reach as it increases, we are also focused in terms of expanding our market access across the country. Next slide. Okay. Thank you so much. So that's the kind of key business updates from our side. Now, over to you.
Thank you, sir. We'll now begin the question and answer session. Participants who wish to ask a question may raise their hand. We'll take the first question from Mr. Miten Shah.
Yeah, good evening. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. Am I audible?
Absolutely, Mitenji, you're audible.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So first thing I would just like to know, recently we heard regarding APM gas allocation cut to the CGDs. So
Right.
does it have any cascading effect on us, basically?
Mitenji, certainly yes, it has a cascading effect onto Positron Energy as well, but in a positive manner. How it is positive? This becomes an opportunity for us in terms of expanding our business portfolio. This is a regulatory change which has happened, which is impacting the city gas distribution business across the country.
Correct.
The government of India has been focused in terms of opening up the market in a go forward basis. Currently, there are several marketing, the pricing mechanisms which are prevalent in the country. One amongst them is the APM methodology. Now, go forward basis, as has happened in the other liquid fuels, this has to be dismantled. So the market is getting prepared. So it's big opportunity for Positron Energy because that helps us to reach towards a scenario wherein market-driven mechanism comes into a play that opens up a very big market for us, and that has actually been a very positive side for us because we were not getting APM allocation for our requirements. We are working on market-driven volumes, and our target audience has always been the industrial consumers as well as the city gas distribution operators for the requirement of non-APM gas. So the more curtailment happens, and the entire curtailment that has happened, that has been allocated to other segments, other non-priority segments. So the deficit of the volume has always been beneficial for us in terms of increasing our business volumes. So that's how I would put it. It's a big opportunity coming in front of Positron, and over the period, this seems to be going to be the trend for this particular business segment altogether. I hope I answered the question.
Perfect. So just one more thing, one more question. So I'll just continue later onwards. So what would be the vision and mission of the company, as I couldn't see in the presentation? Like say, as of now, we are clocking somewhere around 150 odd revenue, as of now as I speak. So is there any vision or mission of the company, say 3 years, 5 years down the line, any particular target?
See, obviously the targets would be there, not in terms of monetary numbers. We have not placed any numbers per se, but the aggressive manner in which we have been pursuing our, penetration into the gas aggregation business, we would like to continue with the same. And over the next 5 years, if you look into the previous track record of Positron, we started with a humble background of 500 MMBTU per day of gas sales. So
Correct.
every year, our focus has been consolidating and strengthening our position in terms of able to handle the kind of volumes that we are targeting, right? So from 500, today we are at 15,000 MMBTU per day, which is substantially high. From here on, further, when we are already, as I mentioned during my business update, that we have signed for certain capacities, right? So our
Correct.
vision is in terms of reaching to a level where we are in a position to source the cargoes directly and be in a very competitive position in terms of selling the LNG to the end consumers in the market. That is the kind of vision that we are working on, and to continue with the same growth path that we have already demonstrated. So that would be the vision for our company, that we become one of the key gas aggregators in the country, and this space we carve out our niche, so that because the entire segment is dominated by all the oil marketing companies and the big giant gas distribution companies. So slowly
Mhm.
and steadily we have to create a foundation which is strong enough in terms of providing us the platform where we will be in a position to handle the huge molecules, both with respect to the market as well as the sourcing strategies for us. So that has always been our priority.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks a lot for a kind response. I'll pause as of now. I'll give opportunity for others. If in case I
Sure.
get time again, I have some more questions. So
No
better I'll give
problem.
opportunity to someone else as of now. Thanks a lot once again.
Thanks, Nitin.
We'll take the next question from Mr. Pratik.
So these gas volumes which we are currently doing about 15 to 16,000 units per day. This can we I mean, is there some seasonality here as well, or can we assume this to be the going run rate at least for the foreseeable future, because we have already achieved this scale?
Right, Mr. Pratik. So basically, I just answered Mr. Nitin's question also. It is exactly the same. Means we are increasing our position to the levels where we are able to have the hand both in sourcing as well as the market, right? So this volumes is something that we have created the market for ourselves in terms of placing these molecules. So 15,000 is the level we would like to maintain the same levels in the coming near future as well. So that is, I hope that answers your question.
And this going forward, any any targets you have in mind for because see, if you have to increase, you've already increased very significantly from the IPO levels, and now going forward, if another quantum jump is required, then you might need another fresh round of working capital investment. How are we planning our next 1 to 2 years? If you can give some insight into that.
Absolutely right. So, see, the internal benchmark in terms of the gas aggregation molecules on a step-by-step basis for the next 2 to 3 years, we have panned out a strategy to reach roughly around 25 to 30,000 MMBTU. That is the target that we are looking forward to reach. Now, as correctly pointed out, this is going to be a challenge in terms of the working capital. The more working capital we are able to add, the more molecules we will be able to accumulate or aggregate, and then accordingly the market can be developed. As we
You said,
understand, yeah,
yes, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
yeah, as you pointed out, whether there is any seasonality in this particular business. See, this entire business is a growing segment. The natural gas distribution in the country today, we need to understand the growth is happening across the country. There are roughly around 300 city gas distribution locations where the work is panning out, where the commitments made by all these entities are very very high, means, and probably we are at a very nascent level. Just to give a basic head up, in terms of the number of CNG stations, there is a commitment of adding roughly around 18,000 CNG stations by 2030, out of which probably we have only reached around 7,000. So you can just imagine the kind of quantum jump in terms of the volume requirements which are going to come up. With respect to that is with respect to the ROs. With respect to PNG also, there's a similar thing. The government of India has a big vision in terms of increasing the penetration for domestic gas. Currently, we have around 1 crore. The commitment which have been made by all the organizations across the country is upwards of 12 crores. So what I'm trying to essentially say is there would be a rapid growth with the infrastructure growth that is happening across the CBD segment. With the additions of all the consumers that are happening, the volumes are going to increase substantially. Okay, the market would be there. Now it comes in terms of the vision of Positron in terms of how much share maximum we would be in a position to take up. That is where, as a principle, our management believes very clearly that we have to consolidate our positions in such a way that we have strongly placed the molecules that we have sourced, and we should be in a comfortable position in terms of reselling it further into these markets. So that's the reason why we are pacing up our growth along with the sectoral growth. So that will provide us the edge in terms of reaching to the additional numbers from the present numbers that we have already achieved.
And you said
ले आओ
30,000
अभी
within
मेरी
2 years.
मीटिंग चल रही है
Hello?
Yeah,
30,000 within 2 years.
yeah, 25,000 to 30,000 is what we have been targeting for reaching in the next 2 years of time now.
And sir, last question, you mentioned about OMCs and these giant gas distribution companies. So how do we, competitively, what is the difference between us and them? Why are we able to service these industrial customers and they are not able to, so where do we come in the whole ecosystem as against others who are already, biggies and supplying?
Okay, interesting. So basically here, the market is dominated by all the big players, no doubt about it. But it is under a regulatory framework. The regulatory framework has very clearly defined that any consumer who is upwards of 50,000 cubic meters of gas has got an access to the alternate suppliers as well. They are not restricted only to the giant organizations who have already been supplying gas to them. They have an alternative. That is point number one. Point number two, we need to understand the objective of government of India as well as the way the entire regulations have been structured is going towards an open market scenario in the coming few years. It may take some time, but obviously there will be a scenario like in European countries, you have gas to gas competition. That scenario could emerge in the future in our country as well. That's how the regulatory framework has been designed. So it promotes competition. You need to have more and more players getting into this particular segment. That's how you increase the competitiveness, and the consumers also benefit out of it, and we also position ourselves in that particular segment, in the particular niche segment in a more economical manner as well. So the basic strategy is, we being technocrats in terms of, we have a team strength of upwards of 170 engineers under our technical services portfolio who are deployed across the country. That gives us the best of MIS in terms of all the developments in terms of the gas infrastructure that is happening across the country. We get a first mover advantage because of that MIS, based on which our sales team, which has the sole target in terms of identifying the consumers and taking them on board and creating solutions for these kind of consumers. That is something which we specialize in. So we have added several applications for various consumers and created market for our end consumers as well. Not only supplying the gas, we have also been providing solutions to them. So that's how we differentiate ourselves, and we have created a niche for our business in across these segments. I hope that answers.
I am basically trying to understand. See, the chain. There are gas producers, there are gas pipeline companies, right? And so because we as an aggregator, we would need to probably. I mean, what I'm trying to understand here, how does our business chain flow? Who do we buy from? How do we get the? I mean, from where do we get the gas transported? Whose services we use, and then ultimately what are the kind of customers we sell to. So if in these three categories, you can if you can give us a better view of how our business flows, then it will be easier for us to visualize your business better.
So well, it is basically the entire oil and gas sector, per se, it is divided into three segments. There is an upstream segment, there is a midstream segment, and there is a downstream segment. Okay. With respect to the upstream segment, when we say, that is basically the domestic operators like ONGC, OIL, K in Vedanta, RIL, BP, British Petroleum, who do all the kind of exploration activities and extract the molecules, and they have to sell it into the market. Okay, with that defines the source. Okay, these are the domestic source. With respect to the source, there is another source, that is with respect to the LNG terminals which are there operating across the country, where you can source the LNG from overseas, bring it in cargoes, ships, offload the molecules at the terminal, regasify it, and put it into the midstream segment. Okay. So domestic as well as LNG, both the cases, the molecules now enter into the domestic midstream segment, that is the pipeline operation. So you have presently in the country, we have upwards of 20,000, 25,000 kilometers of pipeline which connects north to south, east to west, and several operators are there. You would have already heard about Gas Authority of India Limited in Gujarat. We have GSPC, GSPL is there, and you have Pipeline Infrastructure Limited, PIL, and many other smaller pipeline operators are also there in the country, who provide the access in terms of the midstream operation. So from the upstream, from the exploration side, it has got into the pipeline, and now it is entering into the end consumers. So end consumers is your downstream segment of the oil and gas sector. So in the downstream segment, you have two criteria again, as I already discussed. All the consumers who are upwards of 50,000, they have direct access to any supplier who is available in to provide the gas within their vicinity. Apart from that, you have city gas operators. So all the city gas operators become your client. All the industrial consumers across the country who are have a demand upwards of 50,000 become your client. So these are the segments. Now looking into the downstream, you name all the 300 geographical areas in the country which have been provided by licenses by Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, become your end consumer. Point number one. Point number two, all the industries who are using one or the other alternate fuel and are big guzzlers. So namely, you can look into fertilizer segment, petrochemical segment, refineries, power plants, ceramic units, any kind of industry who are kind of considered to be gas guzzling would fall into our framework, wherein they become our end consumers. So that's the kind of split between all the three segments. I hope you have a clear understanding with respect to the value chain that we are operating in.
That was really helpful, sir. But just one clarification. When you take up a contract with a customer,
Yeah.
typically, what are the kind of entities that you compete with?
I didn't get this question of yours.
So, like, so if a cement plant or if say a small steel plant is wanting to secure gas supplies, uh, other than aggregators like you, who would give them a quotation, who would be the other competitors who would do so?
So, as I mentioned, you have operators across all the 300 geographical areas, right? So, there are licenses which have been provided by the regulatory board for that particular location. So, might be it with the city gas operator who would be trying to supply the gas to them. For them also, they would be a client. For all the other gas aggregators, including Positron and the Gas Authority of India Limited, they also supply. Gale Gas supply, GSPC is there, and lot many other entities are there who provide the direct supply solutions to these consumers. Now it all depends. When you asked about the cyclic nature of gas sector, there won't be a cyclic nature with respect to the gas segment per se, but it would be more with respect to the industrial consumers itself. There are several consumers who might be having a peak volume requirement during the summers. So we have an alternative in terms of creating our own segmentation and providing the solutions to the requirement that they come out with. Okay, so that is designed basically through the kind of tenure of contract, the type of contract. It is kind of a fortnightly requirement, a monthly requirement, a 6 monthly requirement, or an annualized requirement. So there are several offerings that we have based on which we devise our strategy in terms of placing the best solution for the end consumers. That's how we differentiate our business offerings.
And you buy gas directly from the upstream producer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. And just one final, this you said that even Someone like GAIL and GSPC, even they have customers, large scale customers who would be procuring gas directly from them.
Yeah.
And for someone like us, if we have to sell, then we first have to, pay GAIL or wherever we are getting the molecules transported from, charges to them as well. So as far as pricing to the end client is concerned, I mean, our pricing would be a little higher than what a GAIL or a GSPC would provide them, right? So then how has the segmentation gotten created over the years where there is sort of value addition that even gas aggregators like us can give to an industrial consumer despite competing with the likes of GAIL.
Pratik
Can I
Rajiv
take
here.
that call? Okay,
Yeah,
Rajiv, take that one.
Pratik Rajiv here. So if you are aware that, hope you are aware of power trading. Are you aware of that? Some business?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so if you're aware of power, so how does power industry works? That you can wherever you produce the power, you can use the common infrastructure, pay the tariff, and buy the power. Any industry can do it, in spite if you are having that local distribution also. So that same theory applies over here. So the GAIL or whoever produces the gas, but it's done on arm's length distance, and the middle infrastructure or the common carrier, everyone has to pay for it. So the price will be never different. It will be the end of the day, everyone has to pay for the capacity, in spite if it is your own capacity also, because no person who is putting an infrastructure on capacity cannot put up something on commodity. Person who is on commodity, he cannot do the retailing. It is same like power, if you see. So a person in Orissa can buy power from Tamil Nadu. So it's not that Orissa government does not give power, but they use the common power grid and reach the power over there, because the power grid company is different, utility company is different. Hope that answers you.
Understood, sir. Thanks a lot. I'll get back in. Thank you so much.
We'll take the next question from Mr. Mukesh. Mr. Deepak, you can ask your question.
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out time for this call and explaining your business. So first of all, I want to understand. I mean, our daily volume were about 8,000 MMBTU in September, right? So from which month you started doing or clocking this 15,000 MMBTU volume?
Yeah.
Hello, you're not audible,
You,
sir.
you can complete your questions, then we will answer all of them together.
Yeah. So maybe you can answer this, and then maybe I will go back. I will come back with the few other things.
That's from December.
From December.
Yeah.
And that is mainly, mainly because of which client? I mean, this volume has gone up.
That we have already shared there in the presentation. That major client was GSPC, but that is all because,
GSP.
yeah, because we were able to secure our IPO proceeds, so we were able to secure more volumes.
Okay, fair. And what is the realization we are currently clocking? I mean, earlier it was in the range of 1,000 to 1,100, right?
Sorry,
What's the realization per MMBTU we are realizing right now?
I'm not getting your question. Can you come back? Hello.
Yeah, so I was asking what's the ASP? What's the average realization per MMBTU we are realizing right now?
That's what we shown in the number. It's the same what we have maintained till in our P&L. So that's the same realization of 6.2 or 6.4% of our BAT.
6.2% of our PAT.
Yeah, the realization remains the same.
I mean, in terms of rupees, we have to say it's in the range of 1,000 to 1,100. I mean, would that be a fair assumption?
Broadly.
1100 you want to say per MMBT you want to ask?
Yes.
Yeah, broadly.
Broadly, right? Broadly, that's the range. Okay. And generally, I mean, whatever new business that we are getting, it's in the same margin range. I mean, what we have
Yeah,
been
margin range would be the same.
So about 9% EBITDA margin and 6.5%, 7% kind of a PAT margin.
We try to maintain that only.
Okay. And can you throw some more light on the trajectory? I mean, we said in 2 years we are targeting about 25 to 30,000 MMBTU volume, right? So how do you see the trajectory? I mean, 15,000 we are
There is
currently doing.
There is some voice behind your voice or someone
I
else.
don't know. It's coming
Yeah.
from some other.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah,
You are
please.
not
You have
sure.
to you have to repeat it. Sorry.
Yeah, so some understanding the trajectory we are looking at. I mean, currently we are at about 15,000. So how do you see this trajectory? Maybe on an average in FY26 and FY27. Our end target is to reach maybe what 25, 30,000 you said. But some
Yeah.
trajectory in between would help actually. How do you see it scaling up?
Yeah, this trajectory would be normally the way we are trying to perform year on year. So we will try to keep that growth rate only. But having said that, there will be a very much organic growth towards that numbers. So that is the way we will like to continue on a phased out manner to reach that numbers.
Okay, I mean this 15,000. I mean, can we target by FY26 and to reach it in the range of 20,000 kind of number 2021?
Yeah, it should be there. Should be there.
And by FY27, that the range that you mentioned in the range of 25.
That's where the organically it will grow. Yeah.
Okay. And any inorganic also we have any kind of plan?
Inorganic things definitely we shouldn't plan because it happens all of a sudden.
No, are
So
we actively looking basically?
No, it's basically it's a global scenario, So sitting on this side of the border, we will be not able to say that. There are many assumptions to it, geopolitical and global geopolitical. So those are not the things of, or not, it should not. We should not anticipate that because we believe in a business which is on a very much same rate of delivery rather than using an ECG graph to suddenly give a spike and all.
Okay, understood. I got it. And just my final query, I mean, what is the key risk that you see in your business? I mean, which can derail your plans of I mean scaling above the volume?
The global unrest, again, the same thing.
Geopolitical.
Geopolitical, the global risk, the global, some wars or something is happening. So that is where which everything get disrupted. It's not only the energy, but all supply chain, entire supply chain goes for a toss. But energy hits the first.
Fair. Okay. I got it. I think that would be it from my side. All the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, sir, can I ask the question?
Sir, we'll take the question from Mr. Balaji first. I can add you to the queue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, team. I have only one question. First of all, thank you for arranging this call. This is good interaction with management team to understand your business model and the way forward. The only one question I have is regarding the positive, happened for you is you signed contract with HPCL for reclassification. Just want to understand, it's a big supply chain, right? From sourcing, transportation, distribution, right? And selling to the end customer. Just want to understand it's a big game and lot of already in Indian big players are there, private as well public. How we are planning to position ourselves considering our size and the capital access we have. I just want to understand better way and what is the timeline you're looking for with the growth. Thank you.
So, Mr. Balaji, basically, as you correctly pointed out, there are all the giant players who are there in this particular segment, and they have really consolidated their positions. So, if you really look into the history of Positron Energy, we have been there in the business space since last now 17 years. This was the 17th year that we have completed. So, our presence basically across the entire gas sector is positioned as providing business development solutions from day one to all the oil and gas companies. We are placed across the entire value chain. When we talk about the offerings, our technical services offering provides the bandwidth to us in terms of creating that differentiation parameter. We are on top of the entire development that is happening in the oil and gas sector across board because we have our presence of our engineers, in-house engineers who are there stationed across most of these locations where the gas networks are getting developed, the new development in terms of the industrial demand, where the conversions are happening. All those kind of information we have firsthand. And on the second part of it, we are having the technical know-how in terms of helping the industrial consumers as well as any gas consuming entity to understand the application and how they will be able to smoothly inward the gas into their system because of the technical know-how that our team has. That is one part. Looking into the entire value chain, while our team has been developed in a very phased manner, like in the previous question also I answered, we have been going very organically in terms of starting from a 500 MMBtu to today 15,000 MMBtu. We are building our in-house team, our capabilities of understanding the market, looking into the networks as correctly pointed by you. There is a huge pipeline network when a molecule has to travel from the western coast to the eastern coast. Understanding has to be absolutely spot on when you have to transport the gas from one point to the other. For that, developing a team who is able to handle that kind of an operation is of paramount importance. So we have been going step by step in terms of consolidating the position and creating our strength in terms of the position wherever we are able to land up to. So that has always been the strategy for Positron, differentiating ourselves amongst the competition. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I got the shade of what is strategy. Thank you for that, and all the best to the team.
Thank you, Mr. Balaj.
Mr. Bhavani, you can ask question.
Hello, yeah. So am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Hello, sir. So first of all, the congratulations on the numbers. Sir, my question is like whenever in the gas aggregation services, like whenever we provide gas to the customer, so how do we charge? Like, what is our revenue for? What is our revenue? Like we buy it for less, the gas we buy it for less, and then supply it in toward a little bit higher price to the customer. Like, how do we earn our revenue in that service?
Okay.
Yeah. See, what happens is there are made of contracts. There's an upstream contract, there's a midstream contract, and there's a downstream contract. So we, at the end of the day, we have to ensure that whatever cost that goes into procuring, transporting, and supplying the gas to the end consumer, we recover that. So at the end of the day, it is a cost plus kind of a business model wherein we try and secure as much, we cover our costs and then supply to the end consumer. We take pride, as Sujit was pointing out little while back, that there are ways of contracts, and we try and address the exact need of our consumers. Some consumers have, different. All consumers have different kind of need based on their application, based on their type of production, based on their location, based on various demographic and geopolitical and technical, techno-commercial parameters. So we try and understand their requirement and give them a very tailor-made solution to their problem, so that they are able to focus on their core activity of whatever production that they are doing, and we take care of the everything else in terms of sourcing the molecules, transporting it, and bringing it to the end consumer. And there is a maze of contracts in between, wherein multiple pipeline operators are there, multiple upstream suppliers are there, and multiple consumers are there. So we kind of manage the entire show for the end consumer so that he can conveniently and use the gas for his applications. I hope that
Okay.
answers you.
Yeah, sir, definitely answer my question. Then my next question is like India is now considering to import more oil and gas from US. So how does that impact your business?
At this point in time, if we were to look at the way India is growing, uh, if you were tracking what happened in recent India Energy Week, everybody was talking about growth in the utilization of gas. So we've been, as a country, we've been stagnated at around 176 MMSCMD for last almost 10-15 years. It is only in the last 2-3 years that the volume has, beginning to go up. So in the last year or so, we have gone up. Our utilization has gone up by almost 7%. and we are talking about 7% in a base of about 200 odd. So we have already increased by 14 SCMD. So just to the whatever additional molecule that you are talking about is just tip of the iceberg. I think we need much more than that in order to satiate India's gas demand.
Okay. Then my next question would be like we are telling just a minute, like little bit of disturbance, and then I will get back in the queue.
Mr. Mukesh, you can ask now.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir, first of all, sorry if I ask a very basic question because I am new to this industry. Sir, my first question is I want to know what is the total addressable market in gas aggregation business?
As I was just pointing out, the total addressable market in gas business today is upwards of 180, 185 SCMD, which is the total India demand. So it is a huge market. It's a huge market and it is growing at a rapid pace.
So in terms of MMBTU, how much it would be, sir?
I think we'll have to do the math, but broadly, if you ask me, 4,000 is 1,40,000.
It will be some 8.5 trillion TBTU, trillion MBTU.
8 trillion TBTU.
8.5.
TBTU.
Great, great. So we are nowhere if we see the market share.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. We are.
Okay, okay. So one thing I would like to understand about the tender which we have got from GSPC, like, is it apart from our capacity which we are doing like 15,000 MMBTU?
Is it what?
Is it apart? Is it separate from what we are doing, right? 16 MMBTU? I'm unable to understand this. Like, if you can throw some light on this particular contract which you have got from GSPC.
See, we have got.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Okay. We have multiple suppliers. We have got multiple sellers. So GSPC came out with a tender, and we participated in that tender, and we won that tender. And that quantity is significant, and that's where we are supplying our molecules at this point in time. A large chunk of our molecules is going to service the tender.
Okay. So there would be additional revenues from this particular contract, isn't it?
See, molecules we have diverted to this contract. So significantly additional may not be, but yeah, our total portfolio, we have shared our total portfolio with you about 16, 17, 18,000 MMBTU per day. So yeah, so broadly our total portfolio, it is a significant portion of our total portfolio. And we have diverted all the molecules that we had from other locations to service this tender.
Okay. And this contract would get over on 31st March, or we can like again get such kind of contracts, like the same one. We can continue with this contract. Is it possible?
See, these are tenders, so one cannot comment on the tenders. But yeah, we will definitely try to take it forward. So it goes without saying. But tenders being tenders, you know how they are.
Got it, got it. And so, would you throw some light on this regasification contract which we have got from HPCL? So is it a new vertical for us, or we already have been doing such regasification?
It is absolutely a new vertical in India. At this point in time, has just got about 7 odd LNG terminals which are fully functional, and the largest being Dahej, PLL Dahej, then Hazira. These are the two most utilized and most popular terminals. Apart from that, HPCL recently in the month of January commissioned its new terminal in Chhara, which is near Somnath in Gujarat. So this we have taken a capacity in this terminal, and the objective is that we get molecules, we import molecules into the country and use the infrastructure of HPCL and connecting pipelines to service our end consumers. This will give us an opportunity to source molecules and remove intermediaries and try and improve our margins.
Okay. What would be the size of this contract?
At this point in time, we have done about 0.8 MMTPA, but I think we have still a long way to go before we are able to kickstart
Okay.
the sourcing of molecules through this terminal.
Okay. And so, what should be the margins going ahead? Would it be like in the same range, or
Yes.
operating leverage can kick in?
No, at this point in time, the margins will be pretty much in the same range as we move forward.
And what kind of revenues do we make if we see gas aggregation? If we see in the terms of like 1000 MMBTU, what kind of revenue do we make?
As I think somebody else was also asking in this forum a while ago, the top this thing is somebody was asking about 1100 if it is a fair number to consider. I think it's a fair number to consider, 1100 rupees per MMBTU. But it keeps changing drastically because there were times when it went down as low as 900, and there are times when it has gone as high as 1400, 1500 rupees per MMBTU. So I think it is very difficult to put a number to it, but broadly, indicatively, if you ask me, I think this could be a reasonable assumption.
So it depends on the price of natural gas.
Oh yeah, it completely depends, and the market is extremely volatile given the geopolitical scenario. You know what has happened in the recent past, so many wars, Hamas, Ukraine, Trump, this, that, the other. So all of that has led to a lot of volatility in the markets.
Okay, sir. That's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you.
Mr. Vikas, you can ask your question now. We'll take the next question from Mr. Sahil.
Hello,
Yes,
am
sir.
I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hello, yeah. Good afternoon, sir, and really congratulations for delivering a good set of numbers as you had committed. Sir, as I believe, this is a very new kind of company in the markets, and it's one of its kind. So, sir, I just want to ask, as this business is looking to be very hyper scalable. So, but what are the key factors which can affect our margins going forward? Because it's a very new kind of business to understand.
Yeah. So basically, this question was already previously discussed. The only risk that can be kind of considered is with respect to any geopolitical scenario emerging out. Otherwise, because this is basic gas aggregation business, you have some of the other strategy in terms of taking care of all the normal market risk. And gas is normally placed against an alternate fuel. So alternate fuels are already benchmarked based on certain international standards, and the gas is also similarly benchmarked. So normal scenario, there is a parity which is normally maintained. So you don't find any huge risk coming out. But it is more with respect to any geopolitical scenario emerging out, which pushes the price very unreasonably high, which has happened in the past. But yes, you cannot completely give away that kind of a scenario coming out. Otherwise, there are no other major risks which we envisage at this stage. Because in India, the gas networks are also expanding by leaps and bounds based on all the minimum work program commitments which have been made by all the entities. So the pipeline infrastructure development is surely going to happen because it is closely monitored by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, which will ensure that the increase in the PNG connections, the pipeline infrastructure, the CNG stations, so that ensures that the end consumer base is increasing. And with that, certainly, yes, the gas demand will also increase, which will help us to achieve the adequate share within the total realizable market that we just counted for.
So, sir, it means in absence of any geopolitical disruption, we will always be able to maintain this kind of EBITDA margins going forward.
Yeah, this would be normally this will be the kind of levels that we will be maintaining. Absolutely right.
And sir, one more question is there. Sir, what was our return on capital for FY24?
That's number probably we'll have to look into and get back to you.
You can Yeah, you can give me any approximate number.
I think it was roughly around 7 to 8%, if I'm not wrong, but it's not the exact number, so probably we need to look into it.
7 to 8% was ROCE.
ROC, yeah.
So, sir, going forward, is there any possibility that this number is going to improve, or because we are in a hyper-scalable space?
Yes.
So, what will be our key priority? Because the EBITDA margins are not going to improve more. So, going forward, we will need more working capital. So, what are the plans about this ROC thing?
The entire focus is in terms of scaling up the business that provides us further more flexibility. Today, as you understanding the gas aggregation business, we are sourcing gas from multiple locations, right? And creating our average margins in tandem to the sourcing portfolio that we have. So how that works? You have domestic gas source, you have international gas molecules coming in. We put all the molecules together, create a weighted average cost of gas, and that's the reason why you are maintaining certain levels, which seems to be going to be the kind of normal scenario for us for the coming few years. The growth path for positron and the future for positron will also further depend in terms of when we start sourcing of direct cargoes alongside some other clients of ours or on a standalone basis. Whenever we have that kind of position, you have far more better margins also coming up because you would be in a negotiating position while sourcing the gas itself. So that would be the kind of scenario that should be the future for positron where we would be targeting in terms of reaching in years to come.
So, sir, it means in the near future, we cannot expect like a return on capital of more than like 15% or something.
I think in the near future, we would be maintaining the similar levels only. That would be the scenario.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for answering the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, as we have time constraint, I'd like to invite Mr. Sujit for the closing comments.
Yeah, I think it was overall a fantastic, discussion between a lot of questions which came across board from all the investors, understanding the value chain, looking at the gas prospects, and I still see there are few hands which are being raised. Overlapping certain discussions would be there. I would request each of them to directly discuss with our investor relation team, and you can seek some clarification if something is yet pending during our discussion. And once again, I would like to thank all of you for participating in this general business update. The entire intent was because there had been a gap, and with respect to SMEs, we are supposed to follow for a half yearly basis. Hereinafter, we would try to ensure that regular business updates from Positron Energy are provided to all our esteemed investors, which would help them in terms of taking prudent decision while looking at Positron. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Positron Energy Limited, we sincerely appreciate your participation. Please email us with your questions. We'll try to revert to all of them as soon as possible. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect.
Sujit sir, hello, Sujit sir.
Yeah.
Sir, just one very important question. What happens after the GSPC contract ends, because it's such a significant portion? Do we have enough pipeline to, reach back to our 15,000 MMBTU volumes in the absence of the GSPC contract as well after 31st March?
See, GSPC contract just came in around couple of months back, right? So we have been doing this kind of volumes and have been increasing. As we mentioned in September, we are already there at 8,000, 9,000 MMBTU, which we are putting across the entire retail market. The industrial retail market is huge. Today, there in the country, there are upwards of 20,000 industrial consumers taking gas in one form or the other, might be within CGD network or direct consumers. So the market size is huge. So it is not only GSPC. GSPC is just one part of it, based on which we have been undertaking it. I hope the addressable market, as we just calculated, is much higher, and the percentage penetration that we are looking at is much smaller. So that's a tender that we won in the near past. There are several such kind of tenders for bulk contracts are known, for which we have already got qualified. So this is a step-by-step process. Everywhere you require to have the volume qualification that happens, and based on that, you become strengthen yourself in terms of entering into the market for providing that kind of solutions. So that already has provided as a platform, and herein after we look for furthermore better participation and getting more contracts. So that would be the part of our business strategy, and which I'm sure on a regular basis we'll also try to share with all our investors as well, where you can get all the business updates from our end, which will help in terms of understanding our future positions as well.
Right. So sustaining 15,000 post 31st March would not be an issue, right?
No, absolutely not. This is an ongoing business, so it has to continue. The show has to continue. We are all here to work towards that direction only. So that's completely.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, Sujit sir, this is a small request from my side. Sir, this is a very good initiative from your side that you are taking this con call. Going forward, sir, please try to take these con calls at least once in a quarter, because it will be very, very good for the company, and small benefit will also be extended to the investors to gain more and more confidence in your company.
Sure, Mr. Sahil. Thank you so much for the suggestion. We'll certainly try to ensure that. We'll try to maintain the same.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you.